by Rowan Stavino at LAIC. He didn't do amazing at LAIC. I think he finished 5 and 4, but he posted his list online, said that he really believed in the deck. He felt like it was super, super strong, and people took it and ran with it. We've seen it doing well in online events. I've seen people posting about their League Cup victories with this deck. The idea is that Crushing Hammer is really strong against your bad matchups. It's really strong against things like Roaring Moon to get rid of those energy cards as you're taking one-hit KOs, and it can be really good against Charizard as well. This matchup, like I said, should seem solid for Grant, but there is more to it than meets the eye.
Good old fan of Judge, Paths of the Peak as well, and there's 3 copies of each of those in Christian's list to try and disrupt this Charizard EX deck from Grant, relying on that Infernal Rain and that quick search from Pidgeot EX.
And for Grant Manley, he's been one of the most consistent players in the game the last couple of seasons. He has more top 8s than just about anyone in that time frame, but he's been unable to find that victory. He's gotten second place at multiple regional championships and just has yet to come away with the dub. This would mean so much to him if he can make it happen.
Yeah, one of Grant's most hated cards, Squavit.
Yeah, I think that's the one that that stings the most.
Yeah.
You know, your opponent has just such a low % chance to get there. Talking, of course, back to that Portland Regionals from earlier this year. It was absolutely devastating for Grant, but it did lead Landon Kettler to getting the win.
Which Landon is at 32 match points, still out on the outside looking in for this top 8. But it is Grant's time to shine here on the stream, hopefully picking up a win to try and find that first big win for this regional championships. Christian, on the other hand, again, second place just as well, so trying to find that win as well.
And he did, of course, get top 8 at NAIC this season. So he's had plenty of success, but it is going to be the Mew VMAX as his choice. He was known as one of those classic Arceus Duraludon players for such a long time. He's kicking things off. It will be him going first. Going to start with the Nest Ball, looking through the deck, getting to grab any basic Pokemon and put it directly onto the bench. There is no Luxray in this list, something you see from time to time in these Mew VMAX builds, trying to go Judge, Path, Luxray all in one turn. Not something Christian's chosen to go with for this event.
And to be fair, I'm fine with that. Luxray V, while it can be very good, most of the time, your opponent just has 2 hits in their hand. And you're like, okay, well, you got 2 Professors Research. I'll discard one of them. And then you just use a double turbo.
Yeah. And I think favoring the disruption the Crushing Hammer provides as opposed to it, right? And it almost accomplishes the same thing. No grabber in this list. That's something we've seen pop up quite a bit in these DTE versions of the Mew VMAX deck. It is in the Nest Ball here, checking the prize cards, and there will be the Mew V coming onto the bench. I do think there are a pair of Genesect in this hand as well for Christian, so we've got a long turn ahead of us. Go ahead and buckle up.
Yeah, who needs Battle VIP Pass when you just draw all of the basic Pokemon in your deck in your hand? There's a Forest Seal Stone to go along with that as well, and we can see this hand get a little bit thin as he decides to use that Fusion Strike system to draw up into the number of Fusion Strike Pokemon you have in play.
See a couple of Genesect hitting the bench. That Forest Sealstone, as you mentioned, Lost Vacuum as well hanging around here. It looks like only 1 card likely to be drawn from this first Fusion Strike system. Could choose to use the Forest Sealstone to just get VIP Pass, but give yourself 1 card draw, see what you can find first.
Crushing Hammer is the card drawn, which...
That's the downside of playing it in this deck, right?
Christian kind of wanted to draw just a card you could discard there. You have that Lost Vacuum. That's great for getting rid of your own Paths of the Peak, but you play 4 copies of those. So drawing into that Crushing Hammer, that's a card you're kind of wanting against this Charizard EX deck. You don't want to discard it just right now, especially with that Mew VMAX in hand. So we do just see kind of a slow turn 1. Passes it back to Grant, who has a level ball.
Did start that Mew, which is pretty solid. It might seem really good to start with it on paper, but honestly, in this matchup, it's something you would like to have in your active spot on the second turn of the game when you're going second, after your opponent has taken a knockout. If you can promote the Mysterious Tail Mew, it lets you dig for something like a Rare Candy, maybe a Lost Vacuum to get rid of a Path to the Peak that could come into play. Starting with it, of course, not going to be too bad, giving himself a chance to find something like Battle VIP Pass.
Charmander is found off level ball.
Yeah, great to get that into play. We'll see what else Grant has in the hand. Certainly going to be looking for more searching cards. He is going second. Can play something like the Arven. Is going to start wisely, though, with the Mysterious Tail. What does he hit? No VIP Pass, just an Ultra Ball will be grabbed.
Again, this Mew is in here to try and find those Battle VIP Pass as often as possible on this turn 1, but having the Arven in hand is a guaranteed way to get that Battle VIP pass and a Forest Seal Stone, which in combination with a Rotom V really helps you thin out your deck and draw exactly what you need.
It's kind of the classic combo here off the Arven on turn 1. Battle VIP pass plus the Forest Seal Stone. And oftentimes that Forest Seal Stone turns into an instant second Battle VIP pass. And that may be exactly what we see play out here for Grant. As off this VIP, he is looking at Rotom and Pidgey at the same time. Thinking about another Charmander. He's got a few options. What do you think is best, Jeremy?
Well, Charizard's the name of the deck, and with your Dark-type attacker against Mew VMAX, you're going to want to get as many of those in play as possible. Pidgeot EX is very good, but it does get shut off by that path to the peak. At least with Charizard, you can get attach an energy, and then next turn, Rare Candy, attach another energy if path is in play, and still take that knockout.
Ultra Ball discarding Jirachi and Vitality Band for Grant. Neither of those too relevant. The Vitality Band can come up. It lets you KO a Genesect if your opponent has not taken any prize cards, but I think Grant is totally expecting his active Mew to go down. Interesting, though, he does get a third Charmander, choosing not to get a Pidgey. The name of the game with this deck is using that Pidgeot quick search to find you what you want. What do you think's happening here for Grant?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Grant decides to do with this Forest Seal Stone. Only playing one copy can go ahead and attach it to that Rotom V, use it to fetch something like that Pidgey, but opts just to instant charge here and not attaching it for fear of a lost vacuum from Christian's side of things, which he has in hand.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Now over to Christian's side of the field. Has an Ultra Ball. That Crushing Hammer still in hand. He's unable to play. I have to wonder if Grant, even if he had an energy card, which I don't think he did, I wonder if he would even attach it. Maybe, I don't know if he knows Christian is playing the Crushing Hammer build or not, but that's something you can do as a player when you know what your opponent is playing in their list. Grant could just choose not to attach energy, not have energy cards in play, and that leaves Christian with less cards that are burnable in his hand.
We do see an Ultra Ball here getting rid of that Lost Vacuum and Battle VIP pass, so finding another Genesect V. Already has the Mew VMAX in hand, so we'll be able to draw 4 cards with the first Fusion Strike system. Still has access to the Forest Seal Stone as well, so if you don't find that double turbo energy to get things going with attacking, you can search for it with that tool.
Of course, Genesect's ability, one of the strongest, honestly, in the history of the game. The fact that you can use not 1, but 2, but 3, even 4 Genesects potentially in one single turn. Absolutely incredible. We do see that Fusion Strike system indeed being used, finding a bunch of great cards. Looks like Path and Double Turbo already being able to be searched out.
Yeah,
a couple of Crushing Hammers, though, kind of biting Christian.
Pretty awkward here, at least with the hand, but did find that Path to the Peak and Double Turbo. I think we might see the Forest Seal Stone for a Judge here, and then you play that Path to the Peak, Judge, and already put Grant very far behind that instant charge and not doing anything when those cards get shuffled back in with that supporter.
It can be awkward, though, and I think Christian is debating. Does he play the Judge now, or does he play the Path to the Peak before the Judge, and then know he's not going to be able to use the Fusion Strike systems on the other end of this supporter for turn? It is choosing to play the Judge first, and now is really going to be crossing his fingers to find a Path to the Peak on the other side.
Listen, you got 2 more Fusion Strike systems. You can thin your hand down a lot with cards like Ultra Ball, Lost Vacuum, and having already used the Forest Seal Stone, a little bit worrisome trying to find that Judge, but he's playing the right art, so he'll draw everything he needs off of it.
And this is one of the reasons I was mentioning for Grant that you like to not have the Mew in your active spot on turn 1. Obviously, he started it, and it's just fine. You know, probably his best starter that he had, but ideally, you'd be promoting it after a KO here so that you have more cards to potentially work with. Flip of the Cram-O-Matic is a Tails Fusion Strike system, finding 3 cards from the top. Path to the Peak was already drawn for Christian, by the way.
Yeah, it was Path to the Peak, double Cram-O-Matic, and a Lost Vacuum. The Lost Vacuum and Path to the Peak, the 2 major cards of this hand. You can play that Path to the Peak down, stop Grant from having a big Rare Candy Charizard turn, and then next turn, if you need more resources, remove that Path to the Peak with your own Lost Vacuum and continue drawing with Fusion Strike system. But with here, a couple Crushing Hammers stuck in the hand yet again, won't have enough to thin out, and we see Power Tablet and Psychic Leap from the Mew VMAX.
Yeah, that cross Fusion Strike on the Psychic Leap, able to take the KO so that he can use Technoblast on the following turn. Does feel a little awkward to burn a Power Tablet, but they're not honestly great in this matchup. Even if you play all 4 Power Tablets in one turn, it's still not enough to KO a Charizard EX. It has just way too much HP. Over on Grant's side, he's got an energy card. He's got Counter Catcher. looks like an Iono. And I think for Grant, it's going to come down to if he can get a rare candy and a Charizard off of Iono, and that is a lot to ask for. Luckily, though, I did notice he's got Lost Vacuum in this hand.
Yeah, Lost Vacuum able to remove that Path to the Peak will allow Grant, if he does draw that rare candy Charizard, to get a big knockout this turn. And that's what Christian's hoping does not happen. And with Christian's last turn, there was a avenue to play that Power Tablet before the Path to the Peak, draw an extra card, miss out on one card there, but hopefully it's not going to come back to hurt him. And they're getting rid of the counter catcher with that Lost Vacuum. Big Iono coming up here.
Grant thinking about the energy attachment, could put it on the active Charmander, could put it on the bench. Again, I'm not sure if Grant knows that Christian has Crushing Hammer in his deck or not. And a big tell for that is going to be where does he put energy cards if he finds Rare Candy and Charizard. And he found the pieces to get Charizard with Ultra Ball, but no Rare Candy in this hand. And if we're thinking back to those prizes, he actually did prize 2 Rare Candy, which is hurting him here.
Just going to have to finish off with an instant charge. And
One
it was
card
the next
away.
card. You hate to see it, but Christian kind of breathing a sigh of relief. That Mew VMAX is sticking around for another turn. And a couple Lost Vacuum and Crushing Hammer in this hand. Going to be a little awkward to navigate with these Fusion Strike systems.
Something Grant could have done, not sure if it's right, would have been attach the energy to Charmeleon. So even if Path to the Peak is in play, he can evolve into Charizard and attach another energy. But I have a feeling now, with his decision to not attach the energy, Grant is probably aware of the Crushing Hammers. He doesn't want to give Christian the option to just burn cards out of his hand more than anything.
The thing is, though, when is the time where you do attach it? Because Crushing Hammer isn't a guaranteed energy removal. You flip a coin if heads discard an energy. So is Grant just kind of playing a little too scared with these
That is
energy?
possible, right? And it maybe depends if he has a Stadium card in his hand, like if he knows he can bump the Path to the Peak. If he doesn't get disrupted, that could be a piece of the puzzle. Just a few cards drawn on that first Fusion Strike system. New VMAX now being evolved. Only one card potentially being able to be drawn at the moment. And Lost Vacuum is going to ditch the Forest Sealstone and a Crushing Hammer from the hand so that Fusion Strike system here can draw 3 more.
Another double turbo, but Judge found
Judge
off
is
this Fusion Strike
massive.
system. So we'll be able to disrupt Grant yet again after an instant charge.
Cramormatic does discard a Lost Vacuum. Got to be a little mindful of how many Lost Vacuums you lose. You need them to bump your own stadiums at some point in the game. But yeah, the Judge, an absolutely huge find right after Grant used Iono, drew 6 cards, and then used Instant Charge to draw 3 more. Those 9 cards now look like 4.
Be a little awkward having 9 cards with like 4.
We did get word, by the way, out in the field, the 2 players, the 2 tables, I should say, at 34 match points are choosing to play. They know that if they intentionally draw, they run a very high risk of bubbling out of top cut. So they are having to play it out. We'll have to keep an eye on what happens at table 3 and 4 out in the field.
Looking at the 4 cards, Grant does have a Stadium bump in that Lost City along with a Rare Candy. Not sure if I saw that Charizard.
I did see a Pidgeot, and that makes me think back to when Grant chose not to get a Pidgey in play. If there's a Pidgey down in a spot like this one, Rare Candy Pidgeot Stadium, that lets him pull off just about whatever he could want, finding any one single card from the deck.
Well, Christian is going to see 5 more cards off the last Fusion Strike system here and does find a Path to the Peak and another Lost Vacuum.
Absolutely massive. Grant does have the Rare Candy in hand, and he's got a decent amount of things he can top deck to get him out of this situation. He's got the Stadium card in hand already, so any Arven, any Ultra Ball, any Charizard lets him pull off an attack here this turn. Doesn't even necessarily need the Rare Candy because he's already got the Charmeleon. The most important piece and the most difficult to find is the fact that he was able to get into a Stadium card to bump.
Well, there is that knockout from Christian going down to 4 prize cards. Fire
Doesn't
energy off the
find
top.
it.
That's not going to do it.
Does not find it. No Pidgey in play to Rare Candy this Pidgeot out. Can bump the Stadium and use Instant Charge. I think that's all Grant can do. And you can see what we mean when we're talking about this matchup. It, on paper, seems so good for Charizard, but the Mew deck is so aggressive and so disruptive that it puts you in these tough spots. We are finally going to see an energy card come down for Grant Manley. An Instant Charge once again, adding just 3 cards to the hand. Draw now on Christian's side. What can he piece together? What would he be his best play this turn, you think?
Crushing Hammer heads, and
That's
then
a
a path
start.
to the peak.
Path to the peak. Do you ever go after Rotom or Charmeleon as opposed to the Charmander that's in the active for your KO?
I like the Charmeleon. Being able to just take out that way you don't need a Crushing Hammer. You get rid of that energy in play and that easy access to a Charizard EX. It's still going to be a little awkward, though. With the way the board is, Grant is not out of it yet. It's very hard to take a knockout on Charizard EX at all for Christian, especially down Power Tablet. Doesn't seem to play anything like a Justified Gloves in the list. And because of that, if a Charizard EX hits play, could just attack twice against these Mew VMAX and be able to take it down. And we see here Escape Rope. Grant's going to bring up that Rotom V.
Really protecting that Charmeleon, and I think that makes total sense from Grant's point of view. Christian does have the counter Stadium in hand. That is going to be something that could be difficult for Grant to deal with. And it looks like Lost Vacuum being considered from Christian.
I do think this is the last Lost Vacuum here for Christian. Playing 4 copies, but has gone through them very fast.
There's Box of Disasters. Really strong card to hit. Even if this Mew VMAX goes down this turn, his next Mew VMAX has a decent chance to respond. And Grant Manley has already played Lost Vacuum. Now, a lot of the Charizard lists are playing 2 Lost Vacuum, and it does look like Grant is one of them. It's going to put a lot of pressure on him, though, to find it here.
Crushing Hammer found off the second Fusion Strike
Big
system.
flip. Let's see it, and it is a heads. Getting rid of that energy card on the Charmeleon. Now Grant is going to need a counter Stadium. You have to assume Christian's going to be able to put Path in play this turn.
Palpad is going to shuffle back in to Judge, and you have to remember with both of these players sitting at the match points they are, Christian sitting at 33, meanwhile Grant is at 32. With a win here in this match, Christian locks up top 8, but Grant would have to rely on his resistance, albeit very good.
Yeah.
To
We
make
definitely
top
think
8.
Grant's resistance is strong enough that if he wins, he would be one of those 7th or 8th seed players. But only time will tell. And, of course, he has to win to even be in that position. And it is looking really strong for Christian Labella here as he's using Fusion Strike system once again. Looking, I think, for one of the 2 Judge he just put back with the Palpad, unable to find it. So while he will get this KO, go down to just 2 prizes remaining, Grant Manley gets to keep his large hand, but in this hand, I'm not seeing a counter Stadium. I'm not seeing a Charizard. It's just an Iono and Prey situation, I think.
And Grant has gone through a few of those path outs in Lost City and one of those Lost Vacuum, like you were saying. Not going to have the greatest odds here to try to find it off Iono, but you do get 6 cards compared to Christian's 2. And it would have been really nice if the energy stuck around on the Charmeleon, because then you can keep the path in play. Christian having a 2-card hand, a lot harder to deal with a Charizard EX, even with 8 damage counters.
Okay, so Grant can technically pull this off. He's got Ultra Ball, he's got Forest Seal Stone, he's got Charizard. So what he can do is Ultra Ball for Luminion.
That's rough.
Use the Forest Seal Stone to get the counter Stadium, and then evolve to Charizard, pull off the KO. But he's not able to get the bump on the Box of Disaster. And so instead of doing any of that, he's just going to choose to pass. And it's going to be on one single Charizard EX to try to sweep the game. That is what Grant is hoping for here. Can he pull it off is the question.
Well, honestly, the way it is, too, Box of Disasters is going to have to go to the bench.
It is.
With this Mew VMAX using Technoblast on the previous turn. It makes it so you cannot attack with that Pokemon unless you get it switched to the bench and brought back up in the active again.
Yeah, honestly, here, Grant has a decent shot. That path to the peak of Christian's being in play means he's not able to draw through the deck at all. Has to just play with the 2 cards he was dealt off of that Iono. And now, taking the KO, if Grant can take 1 knockout here with a Charizard and then take 1 more knockout, I think he can win the game. Does he have the pieces? That is the question.
Does Grant have Rare Candy? I don't think so.
Doesn't have it just yet. Could force Seal Stone for it, but that path to the peak being in play still, he's going to have to buy a turn.
All right, the good old Boss and Prey here.
Is it going to work?
At least for a turn.
It does work for just 1 turn, and there's the counter Stadium.
Oh, okay, we're cooking now.
The problem for Grant is putting Luminion in play is actually a huge liability at this point. That's your opponent's win condition.
There's a Boss's Orders in hand, 2 of them, actually, for Christian.
It does look like Grant has
Arven for the turn.
He's got Arven for the turn. He's got the Stadium as well, so he could attack with a Charizard here. He could knock out the Genesect, but knocking out this Genesect really doesn't do too much for him. He has to go knock out a Mew VMAX and knock out 1 more Mew VMAX. So I think he's hoping that he can stick Christian for one more turn and maybe get off a Rare Candy Pidgeot play on the next.
Justified Gloves and Rare Candy found off the Arven. We can see that counter stadium played now. Rare Candy to that Charmander. But again, like you were saying, taking the knockout on Genesect V, your prize mapping is not going to be helped out at all. So just the pass of the turn, Ultra Ball's not going to do it.
And
Grant
Christian
might
can't
have
do anything.
a route to victory here.
What Grant needs to do is counter catcher or boss one of those Mew and Lost Vacuum all at the same time. He needs to get rid of the Box of Disasters. Otherwise, Christian can theoretically dig for the one-hit KO.
How long can Grant keep this up here? Ultra Ball for the Pidgeot EX, has the Rare Candy in hand. Just, it depends on when you feel comfortable bumping that stadium.
He's got it in hand, so he is in the driver's seat here. He has control of when that stadium gets removed from play. Has to wonder when the right time is going to be. I mean, you can't give Christian forever. He's one card away from effectively closing out the game. Now, if you do get two stage 2s in play as Grant here, it is way harder for Christian to do anything. I don't think he could even knock out the Pidgeot because there's already been Power Tablets played so far this game, so it's not going to be possible for him to reach. Grant will just pass. The draw for turn is Cramomatic. Huge flip could be the game, and it is Tails.
What kind of game are we seeing here? Fire Energy off the top isn't going to help Grant out too much. Really needs one of the combination of Lost Vacuum.
And what could be nice here for Grant is if he can Rare Candy into Charizard next turn and leave Path in play. And he draws a counter catcher. So what Grant, he still doesn't have everything though. He's got the stadium, he's got the counter catcher. He needs a Rare Candy. He needs a Rare Candy, and he also needs the Lost Vacuum. He has to have it. Doesn't have it just yet.
We're going to see the stadium bump here. Search for the Rare Candy.
It's time to go on the offensive here. The problem is Box of Disasters is going to put 8 damage counters on that Charizard. It's got 330 hit points. So after the 80, it's going to be 250. So it is possible for Christian to reach for a one-hit knockout. He's going to need to find 2 Power Tablets. And if he can do that, he can take the win with a Techno Blast.
One Power Tablet in hand. Used just one previously on the second turn of the game. There's that counter catcher. Burning Darkness for a ton of damage on that Mew VMAX. And Crushing Hammer off the top, not going to do much here. You can get rid of one of those 4 energy. Has the Power Tablet, is going to have to rely off this Judge.
There we go, 4 cards to come. And then, of course, Genesect's Fusion Strike system. But with Grant taking some of these Pokemon out of play, Christian is going to be drawing way less cards from Fusion Strike system. Could come down to this. One single card needed, one more Power Tablet, and Christian Labella wins game 1 in such an unfavorable matchup. Let's see what he can do.
This is such an exciting game 1 for our round 15 here. 4 cards.
No Power Tablet yet. No Power Tablet at all. Crushing Hammer, once again, can get rid of potentially 1 card from the hand.
The only card you can thin out. These Fusion Strike systems,
draw.
1 card each.
Hoping maybe to...
Power Tablet.
Doesn't find it, and he can't play any of these cards. He can't play any of these cards. Christian's going to have to retreat to a Genesect and pass. And all Grant Manley needs is a Boss's Orders, and he has Pidgeot EX in play.
What a comeback for Grant Manley here. This game 1 gone on for 22 minutes now.
This is honestly unbelievable. And you can see on Christian's face, he can't believe it. How did he get to this position? He just choosing to attack as well.
Box of Disasters.
30 damage. Oh, are we going to go to a single prize game, a tiebreaker
game?
Grant
has the quick search for Lost Vacuum.
Lost Vacuum can get rid of the Box of Disasters.
It was the top card.
There it is. Get rid of the Box of Disasters. No tiebreaker game needed, and Grant Manley makes an improbable comeback to win game number 1.
You could see the sigh of relief on Grant's face. Oh, yes. A matchup where you are playing this deck to beat, really. And just unfortunate draws. That Path to the Peak sticking in play, but actually helping Grant out for that game 1. We are now essentially halfway through this round. Grant able to come out on top, but in a very unlikely victory in which it seemed the entire game.
And the look of defeat on Christian's face right now. I mean, he knows that that one got away from him. He had a 1-6 prize card lead, and he could not close the game out. That early power tablet meant there was one less in the deck.
Yeah, and having the Path to the Peak here, this is the one that's stuck in play for pretty much the entire game. A Boss's Orders brings up Genesect V to buy a bunch of time, and it was a bunch of timely top decks for Grant. That counter catcher, that collapsed stadium, turn after turn, eventually getting that Rare Candy Charizard in play, taking the knockout. Look at that face.
Grant can't believe it. he got away with highway robbery in this one, and he knows it. He absolutely knows it.
Now it's going to be pretty interesting to see how Christian plays out this game now, knowing the fact that Grant has 2 Lost Vacuum in the deck, that Collapsed Stadium as well.
And it's massive, by the way, as well, that Grant found Collapsed Stadium as opposed to Lost Stadium.
Yes.
Because that took 2 Fusion Strike Pokemon out of play effectively. The Collapsed Stadium forced one to be discarded, and then Grant took a knockout. So those Genesect's Fusion Strike systems were way less impactful than they would have otherwise been.
What an insane way to start off our last round of Swiss. Both of these players trying to vie for that top 8 spot and try to become our San Antonio regional champion with 2 decks that have been at the forefront of their respective metagames. One of them is always seeming to stick around in that Mew VMAX.
Yeah, Mew VMAX is almost like the cockroach of the Pokemon TCG. It absolutely refuses to die, refuses to go away. Every single time you think some new card comes out that pushes it out of the meta, being it Charizard, be it Drapion, be it Spiritomb, be it Roaring Moon, it doesn't matter. Mew VMAX finds a way. And what an opening hand here for Grant, by the way. Just got a quick little peek. I see quite a few Battle VIP Pass.
It's always good when you start Battle VIP Pass here. Lost Vacuum and Collapse Stadium up at the top of the prize cards. It's going to be a little rough for Grant here. Christian's going to start things off with the Mew VMAX in the active spot. Has a couple Ultra Ball, a couple Cramomatic, and a Nest Ball in hand to go along with it. And these Cramomatic have been tails the entire match so far for Christian. I think if any one of them have been heads, I think Christian would have won that first game.
Yeah, it's entirely likely. I mean, Cramomatic's such a powerful card, but it is a double-edged sword. It either gets you what you need or does absolutely nothing. I guess at a minimum in this Mew VMAX deck, it gets cards out of your hand to let you draw further through the deck, but it feels especially bad when you're relying on a 50-50 to win a game and it just doesn't come through.
60% of the time, it works every time.
I don't think that's how coin flips work. We do see Nest Ball finding a Genesect V. Looks like a pair of Mew V as well in play for Christian. And Ultra Ball ditching 2 Boss's Orders. There are only 2 in his list, but he is playing that Pal Pad. We saw it in game number 1. It's pretty much a staple in these Mew decks. And it seems worth it at this point on turn 1. He just wants to get set up, right?
Yeah. Get as much Fusion Strike Pokemon in play as you can to maximize your draw, but having to use a Power Tablet here just to draw an extra card, we'll have to see if that comes back to bite Christian or not.
4 cards being found. I do see a Cramomatic, so we could flip once again. No other basic Pokemon at this point. Looks like Lost Vacuum is going to be the card discarded. The flip is Tails once again. This is getting a little ridiculous, honestly.
Fusion Strike System just for 2 cards. Neither of those are going to help out at all. No Battle VIP Pass yet again for Christian. Does play the full 4 copies. And meanwhile, Grant is going to slam down a couple and be like, hey, I bet you wish you were me.
You absolutely do. And Grant as well, in addition to holding on to 2 Battle VIP Pass in this opening hand, he's already got a Counter Stadium, which is incredibly strong. If he can hang on to that, he'll make sure that he has a way to bounce the Path to the Peak. Of course, Christian on his next turn, got to think he'll be looking for a Judge. I think he's already got it in hand. And we'll see how Grant Manley tries to prep for what Christian could potentially pull off.
Grant going to check through the deck for the prize cards here, finds that Rotom V and a Mew, and we'll be able to find a couple Charmander with Battle VIP Pass in the hand yet again. And we'll be able to finish this turn off pretty well with an instant charge. Like you were saying, maybe not getting that Mew in the active spot, hoping for turn 2 Mysterious Tail, trying to find an out to something like a Path to the Peak or that rare candy that you might need.
Exactly. Like if he draws into a stadium off of the Path to the Peak, he would love to be able to promote the Mew to look for either an Ultra Ball or a rare candy. Now this second VIP is able to bring down a pair of Charmander, something that Grant already has in play that he was unable to get established in game 1, or chose not to, I should say, is that Pidgey. He did start it in this one. Have to expect that'll be the thing that Christian KOs this turn. Grant could theoretically protect it. You know, we could even see a world where he retreats into Rotom V. It's got a lot of HP, can't be Psychic Leaped. That's a strategy Christian could go for, right? Psychic Leap. keep no 3-prize Pokemon in play, but just a boss stall turn is going to be the play for Grant Manley.
Instant Charge does find that Pidgeot EX and an Arven, though, so pretty good here for Grant on the following turn if this hand sticks around, but we know it's not. Judge coming down to 4. Christian is going to shuffle both players' hand in, draw 4, and Christian still has access to those Fusion Strike systems.
Christian, of course, still needing quite a bit here. Would love to find the double turbo energy to pull off an attack, and also that path to the peak. Now, he did have a power tablet in his hand, so there was a world where he could power tablet, Psychic Leap, put up a 2-prize Pokemon so that he doesn't run the risk of a Mew VMAX getting KO'd instantly.
You can Psychic Leap right now. 50 HP on the Pidgey.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I forget. These Pidgeys, yeah, a little bit weaker than the ones from Obsidian Flames. Those 151 Pidgeys most players opting to use now at this point.
How good is Call for Family? Not too sure, but
hey,
yep.
It's the difference between winning and losing sometimes. There is that double turbo draw for Christian, but no path to the peak just yet. I do think there's an Ultra Ball in hand, but it would, of course, come at a cost.
That is another Judge going down. That is 2 Judge, 2 Boss's Orders in the discard for Christian here.
And also a Judge in the prize cards.
Oh,
so that is no supporters remaining in the deck right now for Christian besides that one single copy of Iono. If he can find Palpad, that would be nice, of course, but it's not been the best use of those resources. It's just the hand he's been dealt, though.
All right, we get 5 fresh cards, though. Another Ultra Ball. Could discard that Battle VIP pass you just found. Found the 4th Genesect, it seems like.
And once again, I think a Crushing Hammer being drawn here, not something that Christian is going to be able to play. Grant had an energy in hand, and I think very much actively chose not to put it down. Does not want to give Christian an opportunity to burn those cards out of his hand.
Yeah, especially when you have your teammates sitting at the top tables with you. You should pretty much know what everyone is playing by this point in the tournament.
Drawing a few cards. Looks like a Feather Ball. Box of Disasters was the big one I think Christian was looking for. Off of 4 cards, it is really difficult for Grant to respond to absolutely everything here. I do think the one thing missing still is the path to the peak, and arguably that is the most important piece. There was a path prized, so there is still 2 remaining here in the deck. Can he find it?
Does have a lot of outs, though. 3-4 Seal Stone, those 2 path, and 1 more Fusion Strike system to try to draw, but only drawing 2 cards here.
2 cards. Let's see if he can hit it.
No,
he does not find the path. That is a big missing piece. He will take this Pidgey out of play, and he does have the option here. Does he Psychic Leap and shuffle in this Mew VMAX, or does he just Psychic Leap and leave the Mew VMAX as the active Pokemon? What do you think?
With the Box of Disaster play, maybe having it stick around a little bit to get those 8 damage counters on the Charizard EX, and hope Grant doesn't have enough resources to get another one in play, but there we do see the Psychic Leap take the knockout, but no shuffle back in.
Grant Manley draws for turn, actually has an Ultra Ball in the hand, so I think you're going to see him Mysterious Tail before Iono, looking for a rare candy. One was in the prizes. Can he find one here? Last card is the rare candy. That 6th and final card. Going to take just one more look at the hand to make sure that's what he wants to go for, but this looks pretty solid for Grant. Has the Ultra Ball, a couple of Iono, and a couple energy cards in the hand as well. Rare candy has got to be the grab.
Yeah, with the rare candy and the Ultra Ball, you can go ahead and get that Charizard EX in play. Charge up your Pokemon with that Infernal Rain, and even have an energy to attach for the turn. It's going to be pretty hard for Christian to be able to take the knockout. Would need 2 Power Tablet, I believe. Has 1 in hand, but this is kind of the position he was locked in the previous turn, or the previous game, although a much bigger board to try to draw into with those Fusion Strike systems.
Grant's debating something here, just kind of thinking through all of his options. This seems pretty strong, though. Rare candy into the Charizard. Could even over-attach energy cards to the Charizard with the 1 in hand so that you're a little bit future-proofed against an incoming rare candy. And then that last card in hand is the Iono. And there is still 1 card he would like to find here off that Iono.
Boss Vacuum?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. It would be pretty crucial if Grant did. There's 2 copies in the list. I don't think there was 1 prize this game.
Would absolutely be huge if he can make it happen. Energy attachment to the Mew, and now Iono drawing 6 cards, putting Christian down to just 5. Let's see if Grant can find it. Forest Seal Stone can guarantee it. That is pretty strong. Can use it on the Rotom. You do only get 1 V-Star power per game, so you got to determine when is the right time to use it, and is this the moment for Grant?
I think it's now. Being able to make it to where Christian has no possible knockout on this Charizard EX would force Christian to maybe even Psychic Leap the following turn just to not leave a 3-prizer in play. Otherwise, Christian's not attacking.
Yeah, and Christian almost wincing at the play of the Forest Sealstone, knowing that getting rid of the Box of Disaster on Grant's side is going to be, or Grant being able to get rid of the Box of Disaster is going to be really tough for Christian to overcome, and he knows that that's what Grant's going to eye up almost certainly.
Now, I guess there is a route of multiple Crushing Hammers, getting rid of almost all the energy on the Charizard EX.
It's true.
But Grant has been playing around it with the Infernal Rain, attaching all 3 to that Charizard.
And of course, those Crushing Hammers are far from guaranteed. You got to flip a coin each time, and flipping coins has not been Christian's strong suit so far in this game.
Oh, really? Well, from what?
From the example of all the Cramomatics we have seen thus far. We do see Grant uses that Burning Darkness, taking 3 prizes, jumping ahead in this game. 2, if he can find the victory here, he will walk away with a really solid chance at making top 8. Christian facing seemingly an unsurmountable mountain. How does he get over this Charizard?
Forest Sealstone is a good start. Power Tablet.
We do see that Crushing Hammer. Choosing not to play it. What's going on here? What do you think, Jeremy?
I'm not too sure, honestly.
Thinking to save it for energies prepped on a future Charmander. Thinking he has to go Psychic Leap into Technoblast potentially, I guess.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to force Sealstone for the Mew VMAX to first and foremost here, and probably needing another Mew V on the bench. Otherwise, Grant can just go boss's orders, take out that Mew V, and leave no attacker on the board for Christian.
Now, the nice thing here for Christian as well is that Grant does not have a Pidgeot in play. And with no Pidgeot in play, you're a little less pressured to find the path to the peak. You don't really care about shutting off Charizard if there's already a Charizard in the active spot. It would probably still be pretty decent, but it looks like Christian's going to have to go for the Iono and just hope. Grant's only going to get 3 cards as well off of this. With no Pidgeot, his reach is going to be pretty limited.
Iono here, 5 cards for Christian, 3 for Grant.
Still needs that Mew VMAX. Did he find it? Only 5 cards drawn.
No.
He's got Path to the Peak. Can't put that in play just yet. Crushing Hammer can be burned. Switch. So he's got some cards he can play out. Still gives himself a chance. Switch will be the first one used going into that Mew V. Of course, it does have free retreat. And now the Crushing Hammer can thin 1 more card. It is a Tails. A little inconsequential unless you could hit a bunch of hammers this turn, but it still feels bad to see it happen once again.
3 cards off the Student Strike system.
There's that Forest Sealstone. Has already used his V-Star power and does find a Lost Vacuum, so he can thin more cards out yet again, and it's going to be 1 more Fusion Strike system for 3. Does he find the Mew VMAX to even attack this turn?
3 cards yet again.
I think he did not have any Ultra Ball in the deck when I was looking through, and does find the Mew VMAX. At minimum, able to pull that piece off. His outs were maybe slightly limited. He does have to Psychic Leap this back into the deck, however, and this does leave a bit of an opening for Grant Manley.
Yeah, simple boss's orders off the top. Does not look like it, though, for Grant. Still has the knockout on the active Genesect V, thanks to Christian taking that 1 prize on a turn 2. But other than that, doesn't look like he has too much.
This could be a little questionable, honestly, for Grant. He's got Level Ball in hand, but his Charmeleon, I believe, was in the prize cards still. He's going to check through the deck. Maybe he was able to take it all out with his 3 prize cards he took. Yes, he did. So Charmeleon is here. He can evolve that benched Charmander. He's going to give himself a chance here, even if this active Charizard goes down. Now, the nice thing as well for Grant is that he does not have to bump this path, right?
And he will be getting a path bump from the prize cards, guaranteed, because there's a Collapse Stadium and a Lost Vacuum left in those 3 cards.
And Christian is going to have just 3 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. Options extremely limited. Grant has an energy in hand and actually chooses not to attach the energy, playing as hard as he can around those Crushing Hammers, but it might have been worth it at this point to attach to the Charmander. Just 1 prize card left for Grant Manley. Christian Labella back absolutely against the wall. Needs so much here and is only going to find 2 cards. Let's see what he gets. Does he piece anything together? Mew VMAX. And then I think just 1 more card being drawn from this Genesect.
Needs a Power Tablet.
as it stands, he's dealing 190 damage. There is 110 damage on the Charizard currently.
What a time for a Cramormatic Heads.
And let's see if he can make it happen. Will it finally happen? Christian has missed so many flips in this game. This is a big one. He knows it.
No.
Tails one more time. Oh, absolutely brutal. And I think that's it. Christian can't do anything. If he retreats to a Genesect, Grant just knocks it out. Leaves the Mew active. Grant just knocks it out. He does have an escape rope, I think, is the last card in hand.
Yeah, just a stark contrast
Boss.
of both of these games. Christian having the advantage 1-6 in prizes last game, losing. Meanwhile, Grant rolling through 1 prize to 5 in this game too, hoping to punch his ticket into top 8.
Let's hold on a second now. This boss is gonna work. Boss brings up this Charmeleon. Grant cannot move it. Just has to draw 3 with the instant charge. Christian has an opportunity. He's going to need to boss once again, which would be his last boss. He did put 2 back into the deck. A few Crushing Hammers found, and the Path to the Peak. If he can find off a potential 2-card draw.
What is going on with these coin flips?
A lot of tails, a lot of tails. Christian, let's stop using that dice, buddy. Let's move on to something else.
So many tails, you'd think you'd be playing 9 tails.
2 cards drawn. Needs to find boss and a power tablet.
Oof, that's not going to work.
Neither. Can attach the Box of Disaster, then draw next turn. I mean, he's got to hope that this sticks for yet another turn, but all Grant Manley is going to need is a Charizard. If he can find a Charizard, as long as there's enough energy cards in the deck, he'll be able to attack and win the game. There is no Path to the Peak in play right now. Christian could put Path out, but if he does that, he's not going to be able to draw any cards next turn.
Such an unfortunate way to go for this game too for Christian, but Grant has been doing everything possible to try and lock up this potential top 8 berth here.
Path is going to come into play. Christian just having to pass. If he attacks, what he absolutely does not want to do, if he attacks this Charmeleon, then Grant instantly wins the game. He's got to hope it sticks in play for one more turn. The top deck is the Charizard.
Has the Collapse Stadium in hand, I believe.
Does he have it? And, well, the question is, he's not slamming it. Is there enough energy in the deck? That is the question.
We're going to check with this
one
level ball.
Energy card.
No.
No energy in the deck. So evolving into the Charizard does not allow Grant to move this Charmeleon out of the active. He has 2 energy cards in his hand.
I still like evolving into the Charizard. Just attach for the turn and pass back. Instant, or you can't instant charge, yeah, but maybe you Collapse Stadium, instant charge, just try to find some more cards, but
yeah, I think
still
this is
in a
the
very
last
good
path
position.
for Christian, right? I think there was one already played early in the game, one in the Lost Zone we see. Could just attach pass as well. That way you keep the Charizard in case you get Iono'd.
Yeah.
You know, you can find Ultra Ball to get the energy out of the deck, right?
Well, there's a pass back. Christian looking at the top card. Can't play the other 2 cards in the hand.
Pretty much had the top deck Lost Vacuum.
Yep.
He's unable to do it. And Grant Manley has the energy, has the Charizard, and takes out the Mew VMAX to take his final prize and win this game, putting himself in an excellent spot to make top 8.
Who would have thought? Kind of shades of that Salt Lake Regional yet again. Azul and Grant hoping to make top 8. Azul, also I want to mention, 3 top 8s in a row for these regional championships.
Yeah.
It's one of the most consistent players we've seen in a while.
Without a doubt. Playing at the top of his game. For Christian, though, I mean, you got to just wonder what could have been. Game 1 absolutely slipped away. It was so close. He almost was able to close it out. And then in Game 2, just once again, things just didn't quite go his way. Game 1 is really the one that's got to be the heartbreaker, though.
Yeah, you have that early knockout with that Psychically Power Tablet on the Mew, getting rid of that mysterious tail for Grant forever. And there we see Counter Catcher bring up that Mew VMAX to take the knockout. Box of Disasters puts the 8 damage counters on it. Christian needing 2 power tablets, and Grant's expression there is just classic.
Yeah.
And finding that Lost Vacuum with the quick search, able to seal up Game 1. What a comeback. 1-6 prize cards. And then Game 2 here. It was much more of the same. Early knockout from Christian on that Pidgey, but that was the only knockout he took this entire game. Having the Lost Vacuum for the Box of Disasters, Grant was able to promote this Charizard EX, take the clean 1-hit KO on Mew VMAX, and this Charizard EX took or went the distance for Grant.
Yeah, the one thing I wonder for Christian in that game where he took that knockout on the Pidgey with Psychic Leap is if he had Psychic Leaped into a Mew V, he could have put the Box of Disasters on the Mew V that he Psychic Leaped into. That would have seemed like a pretty good play. As it stands, though, didn't go for it. And Grant Manley had the game-winning pieces at the end, Charizard and the Energy, taking the KO on the Mew V Max. Got some updates from out in the field as well. I mean, we know Dan and Azul ID, we know Hale and Calvin ID. Those are 4 players in our top 8. And 2 more players we can welcome to top 8 as well. Nick Robinson getting the win with Miraidon, 37 match points. And Joseph Nawal getting the win with that Origin form Palkia V-Star. What about that?
Yeah, I think this is now 2 top 8s in as much as a month for Ice Rider, Calyrex VMAX. Welcome back to the format, I guess. But it is great to see just a diversity of decks trying to make it into this top 8. You got Miraidon now. You got 2 Snorlax decks. You got Charizard. You got a potential Charizard. You have that Origin form Palkia V-Star with all of the water techs. And we're still trying to shape up and see which of those 35 match points will try to make it in, squeak it into that top 8. And I'm going to be thinking about that round 15 game 1 for a while.
That was a wild one. What a great comeback there from Grant Manley, able to piece it all together and find exactly what he